Hey, how you doing? Everybody good? You know, when she got you all up to do the stretch, last week I was we did some inclusiveness training for about 500 of our sales leaders in Dallas. And I made them, as the training was kind of winding down, we're getting tired, it was the middle of the afternoon. Hey, Sherry, how you doing? I made them all get up and do a Move It minute. So if you can imagine 400 salespeople standing up, we played some hip hop music and we made everybody dance. Everybody. It was hilarious. It was so much fun. So the Move It minute is something that a friend of mine told me about. So listen, I'm going to kind of walk you through a couple of things around how we are using and how you can use people analytics to drive organizational performance. That says a lot, but really what it talks about is, do you understand the talent and the people that you have, and how do you leverage that to get better business results at the end of the day? How many people have ever played on the playground? Come on, right? You played on the playground. We're going through multiple revolutions right now. Some of you have read the book about the fourth industrial revolution. Well, this was probably, if you think about back to your childhood, we were probably in about the third industrial revolution, because when we were on the playground, we were building. We were using Tonka trucks. We were making sand castles. We were doing a lot of different things that were all kind of manufacturing based, right? Well, when you think about the kids of today, and a lot of folks have touched on this, and I do have 3 children, it started with my 18-year-old being able to program and use the VCR. My 9-year-old now can manipulate things very easily with iPads and tablets and so forth. And my 4-year-old has the capacity, to do a lot of things that I even thought was impossible already at 4 years old. And so what's happening is, there we go, learning styles are continuing to evolve. The way that we process information, the way that our kids think about information, and the way that they act on that information is continuing to evolve. So what I would posit to you now is we have to think about our talent assessments doing the same thing. Because your talent, as the folks before me have so aptly talked about, we're in an interesting war on talent. But it's not just the war on talent, it is a talent on how we assess it, how we leverage it, and how we drive it forward to make our businesses more effective and more efficient, right? And so you have to think about that, but we have to kind of assess things differently. Someone mentioned talent acquisition a second ago as a greenfield or a place for talent. But we're going to kind of start with talent acquisition because it is absolutely the engine that helps drive the business forward. And so talent acquisition is actually going more predictive. Right now, across multiple talent acquisition environments, they are looking at bioanalysis and biometrics. They're taking that data and they're using it to understand what are the right profiles that we need to hire. Not even so much just the skill sets, but how are we thinking about the psychometrics, the traits that they have, and they're marrying that with the assessments that come from your top performers. And so as an HR organization and as an HR function, we have to start to think about not only the assessment, but how do we use the data that's all available to us that's right in front of you. And this goes well beyond attrition, retention. It goes well beyond that. How are you double clicking into the actual people that you have who are the top performers and leveraging that to predict those people that you will hire that will drive your education, drive your organization even further? How are you doing that? And how are you thinking about it, right? So this is one way within talent acquisition. The next phase of it, and what's connected to that, is how do you measure performance? Everybody thinks about KPIs, and we think about, sales attainment, customer CSAT, all of those things, peer reviews. And there's some interesting things going on now when you think about your organization and how you do rewards and recognition. We just launched a platform recently where you can reward any person at any time for anything, all up and down the line. It's really cool stuff. And you can chat with the person right after you reward them. So basically, if I finished my presentation, you guys said it sucked, you guys could send me real-time feedback, like right from your phone. It was awesome. It's awesome stuff, right? And it's peer-to-peer. And so all of the things that technology is enabling are at your fingertips. And so how are you thinking about how you measure your performance today? And someone mentioned it earlier, and I'm really glad to hear, one of the areas that we do not spend enough time on is leadership. And when I say we don't spend enough time, the old adage is people don't leave companies, they leave leaders. I think that's probably true and probably fair. But when you think about the average leader has between 4 to 5 or 8 people reporting to them, okay? So you multiply the number of leaders you have by the number of people that report to them, by the number of customers that they touch. That is an exponential amount of trouble that can hit your organization, or it's an exponential amount of love that you will get from your customers. And so we don't spend a whole lot of time comparing and understanding leadership and what our leaders are doing and how our leaders are doing. Most companies, leaders come from the ranks. We just bring them on up, right? Well, a lot of times you have leaders who probably shouldn't be leaders. But we're less apt to do that because they were great individual contributors. That assessment has to flow through your leadership organization. We've looked at talent and we've looked at leadership, and it's very, very clear. There is a strict and tight correlation between what leaders deliver, great leaders, and how they drive results. 30% more higher sales, 15% more customer CSAT. Attrition hovers somewhere below 10%, sometimes 5%. But sometimes, do they export? Are your best leaders taking what they know, and are they exporting it to others? Are they exporting talent to others, right? How are they doing those kind of people analytics and people development kinds of things that we sometimes don't measure? How do we get a hold of that data to make sure that our leaders are driving things the right way? So when you think about your leaders and the leadership potential that you have in your organization, you've got to be able to look at the profiles, look at the metrics that you have across your leadership organization. Your talent assessments and KPIs are fine today. Today. They won't be fine later. You've got to be evolving and thinking about how you're going to assess, measure, and evolve your talent a lot faster. The whole thing is, how can we get faster to productivity? I was in a meeting this morning, and we were talking about how do we start to get into high schools and colleges at the freshman and sophomore levels to get people to learn how to do selling for us. Imagine the Japanese companies do this already. They start to recruit folks when they're freshmen and sophomores. And that's because that's why Japan has some of the lowest attrition in the world. So how do we do that? And how do we do that better as you think about the war on talent? And then you must assess and reassess. Because the one thing that Jen talked about, who I just love to death, I hate you, Left Dell, because I miss you. But one of the things that Jen talked about is the change is absolutely constant. It will not stop. That's the only thing you're going to be comfortable with, is that it's going to continue. Lastly, and I'll summarize really quickly, look, the evolving talent profiles is important. We have a group of women data scientists at Dell who are teaching us how to train and change all of our hiring profiles so that they're more women-friendly and that they're a little bit better, they're a little bit more written. People have talked about Agile, but Agile doesn't just stop with how you do it. Agile is build stuff to fail. Build it to fail and learn from it and then fix and keep running. I've talked about accelerated performance, of course, leadership accountability, and then think about how you can use data to assess the talent you have up and down your organization. This includes executives, this includes anybody who touches people in your organization. And then always remember to take a look at your top performer profiles, because they will provide you the keys to future success, both on the acquisition space, in the performance space, and in the future space. Thanks.